I am so excited to share this book with you. It is by Gary Chapman. He's the author of Five Love Languages, and this is called Love as a Way of Life and Seven Keys to Transforming Every Aspect of Your Life. This is the kind of book that if everybody read it, the world would be completely different. We would be able to solve a lot of problems and everybody would be much happier. So I hope that you come along with this book discussion and learn how you can seek out opportunities of service and really see those people around you. And I thought it appropriate to share during Valentine's Day so that we can learn how to love each other better. What better time of year to do that? So the very first thought is Gary Chapman's definition of success. He says, "My own definition of success is leaving your corner of the world better than you found it. Your corner may be focused on a single town or a neighborhood within a city, or it may carry you to dozens of countries. Whatever your sphere of influence, when you are seeking to enrich the lives of others through relationships, you will find the most satisfying form of success." I love that that's his definition of success. Loving and serving and seeking out to make your corner a better place. On page 4, it says, "When we love others because we value them as individuals, we experience joy unlike any other." There is literally no feeling as positive and optimistic as serving another person and cheering someone up. It's just not possible to show love and not feel it yourself. On page 9, he says, "I believe that not only does love stand a chance in this world, but it in fact is our only chance. If we can come to respect one another as fellow humans who need one another and choose to look out for one another's well-being, the potential for good is unlimited. If we fail to do so, we shall lose our dignity and we shall use the technological advances of the last 50 years to destroy one another. If we are going to solve the problems in our global society, we need the respect and meaningful dialogue that flow from love. With all of the craziness in the world, all of the disagreements, different opinions, different sides of view, discussion in a very sincere manner and being able to understand each other would change so many things." And I fully believe that. On page 16, he said, "Kindness means noticing someone else and recognizing his needs. It means seeing the value in every person we meet. Kindness can be much simpler and more powerful than we realize." The next example is something he shared that these 4 women, a group of friends, did to cheer up people in a coffee shop. And I think it's really cool. I really love specific examples of kindness, and this is something we can easily do. It's on page 18. It says, "The 4 women at the corner table at Starbucks were laughing and talking. They also kept their eyes focused on the area where the cash register was located. Earlier that day, they had pulled their money and bought a Starbucks gift card. Please use this to ring up all the people placing orders until the card is empty," they had told the clerk. Then they sat down to enjoy one another's company and the looks on the faces of patrons discovering that their coffee was free that day. This same group of women spent a cold Saturday morning giving away hot chocolate to kids and parents at a junior high soccer game. They potted dozens of pansies and distributed them to residents in a local nursing home. When their friend Marcy was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, they hired someone to clean her house once a month so she would have more energy to spend time with her teenagers. What strikes me most about this group of women is not just their commitment to acting kindly in the least expected places, but their sheer delight in being kind. They love others because they know that love for the sake of love is worthwhile. Isn't that a cool idea? Just paying a gift card to the coffee shop or anywhere and then letting everybody have their items free, or paying for the person behind you in line at the grocery store. It really can cheer someone up by doing a simple act of service like that. This is on page 23. More than 2,000 years ago, that's 2,000 years before the rush of taxes, iPods, and cell phones, the Greek philosopher Socrates warned, "Beware of the barrenness of a busy life." This was 2,000 years ago, pre all of the crazy stuff we have now. He was concerned about a busy life. We might not think we have time to compliment the receptionist or let the person at the front desk of the movie theater know that someone's car lights are on in the parking lot, or we may be so preoccupied with the next thing on our agenda that we don't even make the choice whether to take the time to be kind or not. But how much more fulfilling our lives could be if people were more important than the clock? When kindness becomes a natural part of our lives, we don't need to stop and think about whether it's worth it. All of us have different abilities and opportunities. The challenge is to use the knowledge and skills we have to meet the needs of those around us. Every single person on this planet has individual characteristics that they have been blessed with to share with other people. And if you realize what your talents are and then use those to serve other people and make your corner brighter, this world would be so much better. On page 32, he says, listen to yourself speaking. To make this a habit, ask yourself after each verbal interaction with another person, what kind of words did I say? And what unwholesome words did I say? Then go back and apologize for the unwholesome words spoken. Because apologizing can be difficult, it often provides a good reminder to change our patterns of speech. It is really hard to apologize. And what's easier is stopping and thinking about what we're saying before it comes out of our mouth so that we can actually change those habits. I tend to speak before I think, and this really made me think about how important it is to just pause and wait to say your response. On page 32 again, replace unwholesome words with wholesome words. A good place to begin is in private. When you find yourself saying nasty things to other drivers, why not change your words? Instead of saying, you fool, you're going to kill somebody, maybe you can say, may you get home safely and not kill yourself or someone else. First, when you rephrase negative statements into positive statements in private, you are far more likely to do that in public. I really liked that concept. If you're seeking good, you're going to find good. If you're seeking bad, it's really easy to find bad. But if you rephrase negative comments into a positive way, it flips a switch in your brain and it allows you to think positively and see the good and not be so reactive. Instead, you're more thoughtful and you can pause and think nice things about other people instead of sending bad vibes and hurting other people. Remember the value of every person you meet. Each one of us has a unique role in life. Receiving and giving love are part of fulfilling that role. Even if someone seems unlovable at times, if you have in mind how important each person is, you are far more likely to speak words of kindness. I definitely believe that. If you realize how much we are each loved, it makes you pause and think about that person in a different way. This one's really awesome. So different newspapers are sharing positive stories. I hear on K-Love and Air One all the time, positive stories in the news. And if you continue listening to positive stories, it makes you seek them out more. So this says kindness generates kindness, right? If you do kind things, someone else wants to do something kind. So on page 33, it says, that's why it's helpful to read about acts of kindness other people are performing. Not only does it give us specific ideas, but it also makes our minds more alert to opportunities to be kind. Several newspapers, such as the Chicago Sun-Times, have recently started running stories of random acts of kindness in the community. When we make kindness an intentional habit, we are more likely to see the worth of each person. As our new vision of people clarifies, we want to be kind, simply because every person we meet is worthy of affirmation. Isn't that awesome? I think it's really cool that newspapers are seeking out good stories and trying to share positive things because there's a lot of bad out there. But if we seek the good, it helps us find that instead and focus on it. And it's really good for our bodies. This is on page 35. One of the great things about loving authentically is that it brings healing to our souls and our bodies. Number one, acts of kindness release the body's natural painkillers, or endorphins. Number two, the feeling of euphoria and subsequent peacefulness after performing an act of kindness is so common that it's called a helper's high. Number three, Helping others can minimize the effects of disease and other physical disorders. You literally make your body feel better when you serve. Number 4, acts of kindness have been proved to reverse feelings of depression, hostility, and isolation. As a result, stress-related health problems often improve after you help someone. Number 5, the health benefits and sense of calm from an act of kindness return for hours or days after the event, whenever the act of kindness is remembered. Number 6 is caring for other people in a positive relationship has been shown to improve the immune system. Number 7, acting kindly toward other people increases one's sense of self-worth, optimism, and overall satisfaction of life. Those are all great things. Isn't that awesome? So as you serve other people, you feel a lot more at peace in your own body, and you literally have better health because you have that positive feeling and you're seeking it out and trying to share it with other people. The second value is patience. This is on page 41. In Western culture, we are not trained to be patient. When a supervisor gives an assignment and we ask, "When would you like this completed?" the answer is often, "Yesterday." The message is clear. There is no time to waste. Get it done and get it done quickly. In our personal lives, we expect instant gratification. Just waiting for the computer to boot up in the morning is annoying. In order to purchase things we cannot afford today, we use charge cards, even if we have to pay more later. We pay extra to get products delivered overnight. We use interstate highways that keep us from the slowed pace of local traffic. Once we get off the interstate, we pound the steering wheel if the car in front of us does not move immediately when the light turns green. If we get this impatient with technology, cars, possessions, is it a surprise that we get impatient with people? In fact, the very idea of being patient with people is countercultural. Only an intentional choice to love will allow us to develop patience in today's world. I really liked that thought. It really is like, give it to me now, instant gratification. I need this thing right away. Slow down, look at people as individuals and see their value, and then we will be more likely to serve and be kind. This is also really good. It's on page 46. He shares Aesop's fable of the north wind and the sun. The wind and the sun were disputing which was stronger. Suddenly they saw a traveler coming down the road, and the sun said, "I see a way to decide our dispute. Whichever of us can cause that traveler to take off his cloak shall be regarded as the stronger. You begin." So the sun retired behind a cloud, and the wind began to blow as hard as it could upon the traveler. But the harder he blew, the more closely did the traveler wrap his cloak around him, till at last the wind had to give up in despair. Then the sun came out and shone in all his glory upon the traveler, who soon found it too hot to walk with his cloak on. This ancient fable shows a relevant truth for every one of our relationships. Harsh, stormy words only damage our connections with others and often cause people to increase their inappropriate or unloving behavior. It is patient, steady love that will change our friendships, marriages, and work relationships. I like the concept of honey instead of vinegar. So often we are, especially with customer service, we're in situations where it's frustrating. We're trying to get something we need. And always, honey is better than vinegar. If you can put yourself in the other person's shoes, try to show empathy, slow down, and use sweet words instead of getting really angry at them, it makes a huge difference. And you will often have much better results. So, honey instead of vinegar. The third topic is forgiveness. This is a really sad story. It happened in 2006, and it's about Charles Carl Roberts, who killed several Amish students and how it affected the Amish community. On October 2nd, 2006, Charles Carl Roberts walked into a one-room Amish schoolhouse in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, and killed 5 schoolgirls before shooting himself. His actions shocked the country. Yet the story that shook the public even more was that hours after the shooting, Amish neighbors reached out to Robert's wife and 3 children with compassion. They made it clear that they held no malice toward Roberts and that they desired reconciliation with his family. Days later, Members of the Amish community attended Robert's funeral and set up a fund to help support his wife and children. Forgiveness is so much a part of this community's attitude that it doesn't question whether to extend justice or mercy to a killer. Love is truly a way of life to them. While this is an extreme example of forgiveness, it truly demonstrates putting another person first and having empathy and realizing that his wife and children had nothing to do with what he did. They forgave him, and then they sought to help his wife and children. The fourth concept is courtesy. On page 96, he shares, if we have a courteous attitude, we initiate every conversation as though the person were a friend. This is easy for some people because they are talkers by nature. For a more introverted person, this will be more difficult. When you consider everyone you can encounter a potential friend, however, you are motivated to get to know him or her. Initiating a conversation communicates, I think you are worth knowing. I value you as a person. Of course, there are people who will not reciprocate when you open the door to a friendly conversation. To be courteous is to respect their choice. Courtesy does not impose itself on others. I love making friends at grocery stores or waiting for my gas to fill at Costco or when I'm out and about on a walk with our neighbor in our neighborhood. I really have been trying to utilize this thought of seeking every conversation you start as seeing that person as a friend. And it has really made a difference. I think that as we focus on the fact that all of us are children of God, all of us are loved and special, and we each have strengths and qualities that can be used to bless those around us, it really changes the way you interact with other people. And just this concept alone of talking to people like they're a potential friend would make a huge difference. Let's try it. On page 97, he said, give your undivided attention. If you are talking with someone in the hallway and others pass by, maintain eye contact with the person that you are talking to. If you are sharing a meal together in a crowded dining room, focus your attention upon the person with whom you are eating. Focused attention communicates, you are the most important person in my world at this moment. I value what you say. When you maintain eye contact, your mind is less likely to wander to other subjects, and the other person knows you are focused on the conversation. That is definitely true. I love that thought, and I think that is really great to consider. Focus in the moment on that person and show them how important they are. On page 99, listen to understand, not to judge. You naturally evaluate the words of other people as they talk. You may agree or disagree with their ideas, but it is courteous to make sure you understand their ideas before you express your own. When you disagree too early in the conversation, you stop the flow of communication. Take time to discover what the other person is trying to communicate before you respond. Otherwise, you may respond inappropriately. When you disagree, express your disagreement as you would to a friend, not to an enemy. I understand what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. Let me share my perspective, which is somewhat different. Then share your own ideas. Expressing respect for another's ideas before sharing your own keeps the conversation friendly and less likely to become adversarial. Does that sound familiar? with all of the differences of opinion and things that are happening in the world today, there's a lot of contradiction and a lot of conversation that isn't necessarily very positive. So if we seek to understand what the person is saying, express, okay, this is what I think you're saying, then share what your idea is, it makes a much more open communication that can actually be positive instead of completely tearing each other down and basically ruining your relationship. So listening to understand, not to judge, makes a huge difference. Page 99 again, don't raise your voice. Never resort to name calling or loud, harsh, condemning monologues. Raising your voice and lashing out with condemning words create more heat than light. And if you're yelling at someone, they're not hearing the message that you're saying. They're hearing your very loud voice instead. So this is a good concept. Also on page 99, when you must reject an idea, do it with grace. Always speak out of a desire to preserve the relationship. I appreciate your sharing your idea. I personally cannot accept it as being true, but I respect you as a person, and I hope that our disagreement on this issue will not hurt our relationship because I think you have a lot to offer me, and perhaps I have something to offer you. Reject ideas, but never people. That concept alone, if we were to live that, would make a very big difference in today's world. Rejecting ideas, not the people, and still trying to carry on a relationship. Differences of opinion is just the way it is. If everybody had the same opinion, this world would be very boring. So we're going to have differences of opinion. But speaking kindly, understanding each other, having open communication would make a very large difference. Again, on page 99, apologize when needed. The reality is, sometimes we speak rudely. This does not have to end a relationship. If we are willing to apologize, often the other person is willing to forgive us, and the relationship can continue. A sincere apology will deepen the relationship rather than destroy it. The key is a sincere apology. When we apologize, we're telling the other person, I did something wrong. I really want to change, and I don't want to do it this way again. So if you sincerely come to someone and say, I'm really sorry. I know that I did wrong. I want to fix it. Usually they will accept that apology and you can move forward and strengthen the relationship instead of breaking it. This story was on page 100 and it's awesome. It's a what is the word? The Washington Post did this as an experiment to see if people would stop what they were doing in their busy day. So a little before 8 a.m. on Friday, January 12th, 2007, a young man in jeans, a t-shirt, and a Washington Nationals baseball cap stepped inside Washington, D.C.'s Plaza, just outside the metro, and took a violin out of its case. Leaving the open case at his feet, he tossed in a few dollars, turned to face the businessmen and women rushing through the metro doors, and began to play. What these hurried commuters didn't know was that they could have enjoyed a free concert that morning by the internationally acclaimed violinist Joshua Bell, as he played some of the most stunning music ever written on a 1713 Stradivarius violin. That is the most amazing violin ever. The Washington Post had arranged the performance as an experiment. Would people stop to notice beauty in the bustle of rush hour? Far more people stood in line for a lottery ticket at the kiosk at the top of the escalators nearby. It's a strange feeling that people were actually ignoring me, Bell says, laughing. In the 3/4 of an hour that he played that day, he earned $32.17. In more typical settings, his talents can bring in up to $1,000 a minute. Busy people on their way to work overlooked Joshua Bell's value as a violinist. How often does our busyness keep us from seeing the value of every person around us? Of course, not everyone can play an instrument as well as Joshua Bell can, but everyone we meet has an unquantifiable value that we will see if we only take the time to watch and listen. When we are rude to an employee, a store clerk, or the person in front of us on the sidewalk blocking our way, we may as well be walking by a world-class violinist while wearing earplugs. Courtesy gives us the opportunity to notice the beauty and giftedness of people we encounter every day. It reminds us of the joy we find when we put aside our agendas for a moment and simply stop to listen. Isn't that cool? Anytime I hear music, I always stop and I'm like, where's that coming from? What is that? So I would have loved a free concert by him. That would have brought me so much joy. But the point is, life is busy. We are often running around like chickens with our heads cut off. But you have to slow down and look for the beauty around you and seek out those opportunities of an amazing violin concert in the middle of the metro when you're on your way to work. There are beautiful things and beautiful people to learn from literally everywhere around you on a daily basis. On page 101, behind every face is a struggling human spirit. Sometimes the struggle is rooted in physical pain or disease. Sometimes it grows out of wounded relationships or difficult finances. But every person we meet today will be struggling in some way. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow once said, "Every man has his secret sorrows, which the world knows not. And oftentimes we call a man cold when he is only sad. Literally everyone on the planet has struggles. The older I've gotten, the more I realize life is hard. Everybody has trials. Everybody has something that they're going through. And if we realize that, and as we meet people, as we interact with them in the grocery store, on the street, at the post office, we can give them a lot more grace, and we can have a lot more patience, realizing that this person may have just gotten a phone call that their mom passed away, that their child was diagnosed with cancer, that their best friend is missing. You never know what someone is going through. And by having that patience and grace with other people and realizing they're probably having a really bad day, I should probably be a little bit more patient with them, it can make the world of difference. This is a really good one. It's on page 102, and it is an opportunity to be patient with someone who's having a hard time. So the other night, I overheard a library clerk snap at a patron that she had come in too close to closing time to be checking out so many books. Instead of responding with defensiveness or anger, the patron said, "It sounds as if you've had a really long day." The librarian immediately softened her tone and smiled as she started to scan the stack of books. "It has been a long day. See that line over there of people waiting to check out books? When people come in so late, we don't get out of here until 9:30. I can see why you want to go home. I'll try to get her earlier next time." And the patron left with her bag of books as the librarian called the next person in a considerably gentler voice. When I observe what appears to be arrogant, hostile, or distant behavior, my instinct is to respond with anger. But if I reflect on the struggle behind the behavior, I am far more likely to have a courteous response to the individual. I may still feel irritated, but if I look beyond the outward appearance, I am motivated to respond with courtesy. That's it. Just realize the other person could be having a really bad day, and you need to put yourself in their shoes and have empathy and think, what would I do if I were having a crummy day and someone came at me like this? If we pause and think and show that empathy, it will make a big difference. On page 102, all people are valuable. All have the potential to be a part of positive relationships. All people are struggling. All people need love. And all people will be enriched by courtesy. The fifth value is humility. Humility is a strange thing. The moment you think you have acquired it is just the moment you've lost it. Bernard Meltzer shared that. And also, recognizing your own worth is a step toward loving others more authentically. If we actually recognize how special we are, we will treat other people's much more kindly. And on page 122, he shares, accepting the help of others is one of the best and most difficult ways of fostering loving relationships. While we naturally want to hide our feelings and showcase our better qualities, a humility that lets others know exactly who we are has the potential to revolutionize our relationships. Humility, like every other loving character trait, is countercultural. It goes against the go for it mentality of our culture and acknowledges that relationships are the most important part of living well. This is on page 128, and it's a really good thought by Sir Isaac Newton. Chapman says, "My knowledge is limited. The wisest man among us holds only a thimbleful of knowledge." Sir Isaac Newton, acclaimed as one of the greatest minds in the history of human thought, once said, "I seem to have been only like a boy, playing on the seashore and diverting myself in now and then finding the smoother pebble, or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me." Newton spoke for all of us. The person who holds the PhD in aerodynamics may know very little about human relationships. The person lettered in psychology may know almost nothing about physics. While we may develop a great deal of knowledge about one small facet of the universe, we remain ignorant beside the immense ocean of knowledge. In the light of our great ignorance, where is the rationale for pride? I really liked that concept. We literally know this little teeny tiny bit of all of the knowledge that is available in the universe. And with that, we need to realize everybody else also knows that little bit. And we need to be patient with each other and show that empathy. The sixth is generosity. On page 134, Chapman shares, when we love authentically, we have an attitude of generosity in all we do. We are alert to how others need the money, time, energy, attention, and ability that we have to give. That might mean staying up late to talk with the teenage son who opens up about his feelings just when we're ready to go to bed. It might mean noticing that a friend could use a ride to the doctor, even though he won't ask for it. Or the single mom next door could use some extra help with the yard work on weekends. The word gift is the translation of the Greek word charis, which means unmerited favor. Every time we give our money, talents, or time, we are acknowledging that these things were gifts to us in the first place. Our gifts to someone else are not based upon the person's performance or what the individual has done for us, but rather flow from our love for him or her when we live with a generous spirit. It's amazing to watch the opportunities to love that come our way. If we have the desire to serve or do something kind for someone else, Heavenly Father is going to put those people in our path. He wants everybody to know how loved and special they are. And if you have that desire to serve, the opportunity will present itself. I promise that to be true. On page 135, generosity may end with actions, but it begins with an attitude of the heart. When we generously give our whole selves, we show others how much we value them. Also, he says, taking time to inquire about another person's family relationships, vocation, social interests, and physical health communicates to others that you care about them. As you spend time with people, you discover their needs and desires. Only then are you able to express love in other ways. Until you take the time to know someone, you're not likely to help them. We cannot give the gift of time to everyone we pass on the street or encounter on the subway, but we can give the gift of time to someone every day. Isn't that a great concept? You can't help everybody. You can't have empathy for all the things, but you can have the desire to help one person every day. And if you do that, that makes a huge 365 people a year. That's a lot of people you'd be helping. And that's just one. Double that and you get even more. On page 139, he shares a quote by Annie Dillard that says, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. That's a good thought, huh? Also on that page, he says, none of us will ever love our families perfectly. When we cultivate a generous spirit, we become more aware of investing time in the most important thing, which may not be the thing that appears to be more urgent. Remember how he talked about sacrifice being necessary to serve sometimes? That often means not doing something you were planning on that day or being late to an appointment if you see an opportunity to serve somebody. It does require sacrifice. You have to put other people first when you're serving. On page 140, he shares the sacrifice of time. You might be thinking, this sounds great, but I cannot add anything more to my life right now. I would love to spend more time with people, but I also need to make a living and keep the house together. If you think you can't do it all, guess what? You're right. You won't be able to find that elusive balance of friends, family, work, and rest because relationships in life don't happen that neatly. True generosity requires sacrifice. It requires a change in perspective. One young mother I know says that when life gets to the point where the details of the day feel too overwhelming, she asks herself, what's not working right now? Sometimes we have to say no. You have to recognize what your limits are, and sometimes you have to say no. But it's also remembering that love requires sacrifice. Also on page 140, when the financier J.P. Morgan was asked, how much money is enough? He reportedly quipped, just a little bit more. I venture to say that many of us would say the same thing about time. We will never have all we want or feel we need. Every extra bit of time we have is eaten up in the tasks of the day unless we are determined to put relationships first. Our incomes and abilities may differ, but we all have the same amount of time in a day. Subtract the hours you've been sleeping, and you discover the available hours for giving people the gift of time. Certainly, our vocation or education requires a number of these hours, but even in those contexts, we have opportunities to give others undivided attention and express interest in their well being. If we have hearts set on giving, we'll be looking for opportunities where we can give the gift of time. Again, if you have the desire to serve someone, the opportunity is going to be presented to you, and you are going to find someone to love and to serve. I promise. I know that to be true. On page 141, he says, for many of us, changing our attitudes towards time will not be so radical. It may be as simple as setting a goal to have a quality conversation. It may be as simple as setting a goal to have a quality conversation with at least one person every day. That conversation may be brief or extended, but deeper than talking about the weather and sports. The gift of time is a powerful expression of love, one for which there are many would-be recipients. On page 142, he says, the word vocation means calling. Our overarching calling is to enrich the lives of others by making love the fundamental purpose of our lives, which is what the book is all about. It's literally putting someone else before you and seeking opportunities to serve and to love and just to let someone know how valued they are. On page 145, he shares, one of the reasons it's important to see our own worth is that when we know our value, we are alert to the ways we can use our gifts for others. If you want to be generous with your abilities, you must believe that you play an important role in the world. No one else can take your place. Your abilities are needed. As you use your abilities to express love, not only are you becoming a loving person, but you are also helping make love a way of life for others. I absolutely believe that. Each of us are individuals who have special characteristics that Heavenly Father gave to us to love and serve those around us. No one else can do the job that you do. No one else can love the way that you do because you are so individual and you have those special qualities that are just for you to share with those around you in your own little corner. On page 146, he says, just like everything we own or enjoy, money is a gift to us in the first place. The joy we get from giving it away is just one of the many benefits. Some people reason that if their incomes were greater, they could afford to give more to good causes. How much money we have is not as important as our attitude toward money and our attitude toward relationships. As the author W.S. Plumer said, he who is not liberal with what he has does not deceive himself when he thinks he would be liberal if he had more. In other words, if we don't give from our little, we do not give out of our much. So if you're not currently wanting to do these things, you're not going to do it with extra money. The more you give, the wealthier you feel. And it's not just a feeling. As strange as it may seem, the truth is that money often flows faster to those who give. Why? Because givers attract abundance into their lives rather than scarcity. Other financial gurus point out that when we set aside certain portions of our monthly incomes to give away, we're more careful with the remaining 90%, and therefore accumulate more money over the long term. It's like magic. The more you give, the more you get, and it keeps cycling. This is a quote by Winston Churchill on page 150. We make a living by what we earn, but we make a life by what we give. On page 157, when we concentrate too much on what we do, we forget the value of people we encounter every day. Generosity moves our minds and hearts out of the ruts they fall into and brings us back to relationships. It gives us new eyes to see the beauty of people who could use our gifts. Anna Quinlan writes, get a life in which you are generous. Look around at the azaleas making fuchsia starbursts in spring. Look at a full moon hanging silver in a black sky on a cold night, and realize that life is glorious and that you have no business taking it for granted. Care so deeply about its goodness that you want to spread it around. All of us want to do well, but if we do not do good too, then doing well will never be enough. One of the most satisfying, joy-filled choices we can make is to get a life full of generosity, gratitude, and the beauty of giving ourselves away for the sake of relationships. Isn't that true? When you're really trying to love and serve those around you, it brings you so much joy. And then they want to share it. And it is a cycle and it just keeps going. The last value is honesty. There are two ways to speak the truth, as bullets or as seeds. Use the truth as a bullet and you will kill relationships. Plant the truth as a seed and it will take root and grow, influencing the person in whose heart it was planted. Love has the patience to plant seeds. On page 176, the good news is that truth-telling is also habit-forming. When we are aware of cultivating honesty in everyday life, the dishonest words that slip from our mouths will begin to stand out. We will begin to dislike them because we see how they hurt our relationships. The more we tell the truth, the better we feel. To be authentic is liberating, psychologically and relationally. We need not think, what did I tell that last person? Because we know that we are giving the same story to everyone. You don't have to remember what you say if you tell the truth, right? On page 176 as well, something in the human soul likes to see others do what is right. The courage to confess indicates a desire to walk a different path in the future. This is the process of putting off the false self and putting on the true self. The freedom of living honestly makes room for rich relationships. When we hide our words, our feelings, and our beliefs, even in small ways, we are hindering our attempts to love authentically. The only way others will receive the love we want to give is when they can trust us, not just for what we say, but for who we are. That's on page 181. It's important to be honest in how you're feeling. A person can't help you if you aren't honest in what you're going through. And sometimes it's hard. It is really hard to be vulnerable, but it gives the person the opportunity to serve you. And quite often they'll make you feel better. So it's important to be vulnerable sometimes and share how you're actually feeling. The last two things I wanted to share from the book are on page 229 and 230. Some would conclude that with each passing day, the world becomes darker. But I would remind you that the greater the darkness, the greater the need for the light of a life of love. If the people in our world can rediscover the power of love in their everyday interactions, we can replace the darkness with light, the sickness with healing, the poverty with sustenance, and the brokenness with reconciliation. It is not just wishful thinking to say that love can win. It really can. When we're putting other people first and we're really trying to be that light, love can win. I believe that Albert Schweitzer was correct when he said, "One thing I know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who will have sought and found how to serve." It is my sincere desire that this book will help you discover your identity as an authentic lover and leave your corner of the world better than you found it. That is exactly why I wanted to share this book. I want to leave the world better than I found it. I want people to have the desire to serve other people and be kind. And I want people to want to know Jesus Christ more through knowing me. I want to be that light. I want to help people know that they are loved, that they are valued, that they are special, and that I want to help them. And if by sharing this book with other people can help make the world a brighter place, I will be so excited. Please share this with anybody who you think will be uplifted from the message and realize that you are loved by Heavenly Father, by our Savior Jesus Christ, and I love you, and I really want you to be happy. And I hope that this discussion of the book has uplifted you and given you the desire to seek those opportunities to love and serve and to see those around you as very special people who also want to be happy and also want to love and grow. And I hope you have an awesome Valentine's Day.